Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. We begin with the India-US trade deal again and a big backtrack from the White House. Washington is walking back on its claims. No pulses in the trade deal, no $500 billion commitment. So what changed and why the confusion? We'll discuss that. In Canada, 10 people killed in a mass shooting in a school. We look at how gun control remains a challenge despite a massive drive by the government over the years. In Bangladesh, it is voting day tomorrow. It's a battle for the country's identity. We'll break down the numbers for you. Also in focus, are entry-level jobs vanishing? Is artificial intelligence to blame? What are the new income tax rules that the Indian government has proposed? Why Pakistan has made a stunning admission. It said that the US used them like toilet paper. Why the Vatican Bank is launching a stock index. What the new rules to regulate AI-generated content in India are. Why the Colombian president claims to have survived an assassination attempt, and how Valentine's Day is not just about love, it's also about breakups, and they mean big business. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. Donald Trump meets Benjamin Netanyahu in the White House. The Israeli Prime Minister urges Trump to take a tougher stance in his nuclear talks with Iran. Ahead of the meeting, Tehran warned Washington of quote-unquote destructive influences. This is Netanyahu's sixth visit to the US since Trump returned to the White House last year. Hundreds of honking tractors roll into Madrid as Spanish farmers stage protests. They're angry over the European Union's trade deal with Mercosur. The farmers fear being undercut by cheaper goods from the South American bloc. Similar protests have taken place in other European cities as well. A gunman opens fire at a school in southern Thailand, injuring at least 3 people, including children. Police arrested the attacker after shooting him. Thailand has one of the highest rates of gun ownership in the region. Promises of tightening gun laws have not prevented repeated incidents. Libya grants several foreign companies new oil exploration and production licenses. This is the first time it has done so in 17 years. Libya is a hydrocarbon-rich country. It wants to draw global energy firms back after years of political instability. And a deadly cyclone kills at least 20 people in Madagascar. Many more have been injured, while some are missing. The storm has battered the island nation's second-largest city. Powerful winds toppled houses and caused major flooding. Streets littered with uprooted trees have made several roads inaccessible. One deal, many documents, many U-turns and many more questions. That is the status of the India-US trade deal. Yesterday we told you about a fact sheet released by the White House. This document gave details on the trade deal and it raised 2 main red flags for India. 2 red flags. First, the US claimed that India would slash tariffs on pulses. This was not mentioned in the joint statement issued by India and the US. New Delhi had said that pulses were not part of the deal, but the White House document mentioned pulses. That was one issue. Secondly, the US claimed that India had committed to buying American goods worth $500 billion over 5 years. The US said India had committed to buy this much. Again, the joint statement did not mention that. It said that India intends to buy, not commits. So there was discrepancy on 2 important points. Now, 24 hours later, the White House has quietly updated its document. Look at the new one, the new fact sheet. It does not mention pulses anymore, and the word committed has been changed to intends. Basically, the White House has dropped both the contentious points. How did that happen? Clearly, some action there was some action behind the scenes. Did India ask the US to correct itself, or did the US get its facts wrong? At this point, we do not know. But here's what we can tell you. This new White House document has two more changes. The first one concerns the $500 billion clause. Earlier, the US said that India would buy American planes, American tech goods, and American farm products. But in the new document, there is no mention of the American farm products. I'll repeat, farm goods are not part of the $500 billion clause anymore. Secondly, the language on digital trade has been changed. The first statement said that India would end the digital service tax. What is the digital service tax? This is a tax that is charged on foreign tech companies. Say Google earns money from ads in India or Amazon makes money off Indian shoppers. Then this revenue attracts a special tax. It is called the digital service tax. The White House initially claimed that India would end this tax, but the new statement makes a U-turn. Here's what it says. India committed to negotiate a robust set of bilateral digital trade rules that address discriminatory or burdensome practices and other barriers to digital trade. So in total, 4 important changes. What does that tell you about the trade deal? Well, there are 2 possibilities. One, maybe the Americans are just putting pressure on India. President Donald Trump is known for this. He often uses this strategy. He makes wild claims to corner the other side, to shock them into a bad deal. So maybe the White House took a cue from him and they made claims to put pressure on India. That's one possibility. Or it could be the second possibility. The terms of the deal are not concluded yet, and that is why there's so much back and forth. This would not be surprising. What we have right now is a trade framework. The final agreement will only be signed in mid-March. So it is quite possible that some terms are still being negotiated, which is why Trump has not lifted all the tariffs yet. He has only lifted the 25% levy linked to Russian oil. The punitive tariffs, those have been lifted. The remaining 25% tariff is still in place. And until a deal is signed, that tariff will remain. But here's the problem. These U-turns and confusions have triggered a showdown. Farmers in India are concerned about the tariff cuts. Multiple farmers' bodies have called for a general strike tomorrow. They have called this deal a total surrender. Today, the showdown also reached India's parliament. The opposition slammed the India-US trade deal. They accused the Prime Minister of selling the country.
Open the door to mechanized American farms, thousands and thousands of acres each farm. You have opened the door to crush our poor farmers. It is disgraceful. No Prime Minister has ever done this before. And let me tell you, no Prime Minister after you is ever going to do it. You yourself say energy and finance weaponization, and you have allowed the Americans to weaponize our finance and our energy against us? What does it mean when America says you cannot buy oil from somebody? It means our energy is weaponized. I'm saying that you have sold India. Are you not ashamed of selling India? Yes. Do you have no shame of selling India?
पाकिस्तान से इंडिया को जोड़ करके we will talk with पाकिस्तान और टेररिज्म से लिंक नहीं है कहने वाले ये कांग्रेस वाले आज आकर के हमें एडवाइस दे रहे हैं नेगोशिएशन कैसे करना है सेल करने वाले आप लोग हैं किसान को भी गरीब को भी इस देश को भी भारत को बेचने वाले कोई माय की लाडला अभी तक जन्म नहीं हुआ मोदी जी कभी नहीं करेंगे थैंक यू मैडम
The government's broad response has been this: wait for the deal, do not jump the gun, wait for the final agreement. The problem is the other side is not doing that. The US is publishing more and more statements, and each time they're making wild claims. On the issue of pulses, they have issued a revised statement. But on one issue, there is no revision or change, and that is Russian oil. The new American statement repeats the same old claim that India will stop buying Russian oil. Trump's trade representative was asked about this clause. The question was, has India promised to stop buying Russian oil? Listen to the response.
The short answer is yes. They've already started winding down their purchases of Russian energy products. They've started ramping back up, purchases of American energy and energy from other sources.
And what is India saying? Again, there is no answer, no yes or no. Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri briefed the media today. He reiterated what the Foreign Ministry has said, that India's energy policy is driven by consumer interest.
We are committed, India is committed to our consumer. During the last 10 years, in the midst of global turmoil, there has never been a shortage of energy. Availability has been there at all times. Affordability, we have some of the lowest energy prices. We will buy from wherever we have to in order to ensure that the demands of the consumer are satisfied. And we have diversified our supplies from 27 to 41 countries.
It's reassuring, but not ideal. All these discussions and clarifications should have happened behind the scenes, not in public for millions to see. We waited for 9 months for a trade deal. I'm sure we could have waited one more month. Instead, this is what we see. Farmers are confused, exporters are confused, and investors are confused. Let's hope the final agreement will clear things up. Canada is reeling. Yesterday, the country saw a mass shooting, that too in a school. 10 people are dead, including the shooter. It happened in a small town called Tumbler Ridge. It is located 1,000 kilometers from Vancouver. It is small and it's an isolated community. And now it has shot to international headlines. The full details of what happened are still not out, but here is what we know so far. At around 1:20 p.m. local time yesterday, the police received a phone call. They were informed that a shooter had entered a school, the Tumbler Ridge Secondary School. This school has just 160 students. Soon after the police was informed, the community went into lockdown. This lockdown lasted for several hours. The residents took shelter in their homes and community spaces, and the police launched an operation. Students were seen being evacuated from the school. The students who were trapped inside started calling their parents. Soon journalists were at the scene. One of them spoke to a parent. And this conversation happened when the shooter was still believed to be inside. So he made a quick video describing what was happening at the scene. Take a look.
There is a report of an active shooter at the Tumbler Ridge Secondary School. As I was just about to go live, 2 cop cars just came zooming by towards the school, and a emergency alert went out. So this is not a rumor.
As you can imagine, it was quite a tense situation. So who was the shooter? The police have not released the shooter's identity. As of now, they have only released a description. A female in a dress with brown hair. That's all that they've said about the shooter. The police found her dead in the school. It appears that she killed herself after shooting down 9 other people. 7 of these 9 people were found dead in the school. We do not know if these were students or staff. And 2 other victims were found inside a home in the same town. They too were found dead. The local police believe that these 2 incidents are related.
I understand that there are 10 people in total who are dead, 2 different sites. 8 of the people who died as a result of the shootings were at the school, including an individual we understand is the suspected shooter, who is believed to have died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
So what was the motive of this attack? That is not clear yet. And which weapon was used? How did the shooter get the weapon? We do not have those details. The investigators are yet to release all this information. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police is in charge. They are conducting the probe. This is the National Police Service of Canada. Their Prime Minister Mark Carney has spoken. He said he was devastated by the attack. Carney was supposed to travel to Germany to attend the Munich Security Conference, but after he received news of the attack, he cancelled his trip. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also issued a statement. He called this incident horrendous and said that he was shocked. He was deeply shocked. Unlike the US, though, mass shootings are rare in Canada. And this is the worst such incident since 2020. That's when the mass shooting in Nova Scotia took place. 23 people, including the attacker, were killed in that incident. And after this shooting, the 2020 shooting, Canada took a number of steps. It overhauled the gun laws. It imposed a sweeping ban on assault weapons. At least 1,500 varieties of such weapons were banned, and this ban was later widened to include handguns and other firearms. A buyback program was also introduced, where the government targeted military assault rifles. Canada zeroed in on the owners of such rifles and spent millions of dollars to take these weapons out of civilian hands. The program was politically divisive. It met many logistical challenges. All these policies were launched by the government of Justin Trudeau. His successor, Mark Carney, has largely stayed the course, but now Canada faces a whole new challenge with respect to guns. American firearms are spilling into the country, that too at an alarming rate. Smugglers are finding new ways in. They're hiding guns inside commercial and personal vehicles. They're loading them on drones, concealing them in boats, or stashing them in dead drops. There is a growing black market for American guns in Canada. Some of these weapons fetch up to 8 times their original price. We have some data from 2 places, Ontario and Toronto. Ontario is Canada's most populous province. Authorities have recovered illegal American guns here in significant quantities. In fact, they say 91% of handguns recovered from crime scenes in this province came illegally from the United States. 91% of the guns recovered. And then you have Toronto, the biggest city of Canada. 88% of all firearms recovered from crime scenes in Toronto were smuggled from the United States. This data is from 2024. It establishes a clear pattern. American guns are flowing into Canada illegally. They are being used to commit crimes. Now, we don't know if they were involved in yesterday's shooting too, but Canadian authorities have some serious questions to answer.
জনগণের ভাগ্যের পরিবর্তন
All eyes are on Bangladesh. Just hours from now, polls will open across the country. 127 million Bangladeshis will head out to vote. They're not just choosing lawmakers or ministers, they are choosing their future. I know we tend to hype up elections in the media, but this one is truly significant. Not only will it shape Bangladesh's identity, it will shape India's influence in the region as well. So tonight, we bring you a full roundup. Who is contesting, who is winning, and who is saying what. Bangladesh has just one House of Parliament. It is called the Jatiyo Sanshad, or the House of the Nation. This house has 350 seats in total. Out of these, 300 are up for grabs tomorrow, 300 seats. The remaining 50 seats are reserved for women. They are allotted to parties based on their seat share. Say a party wins 100 seats, then they are allotted 16 seats out of the 50 reserved for women. And what's the majority mark? Whoever gets 151 seats will form the government. I know it all sounds quite simple on paper, but tomorrow promises to be buzzing and chaotic. Polls will open at 7:30 a.m. local time. They will close at 4:30 in the evening. In this time, voting will take place across all 64 districts. Officials have set up more than 42,000 polling centers, and protecting them will be a top priority. This is a country known for violence and disruptions on polling day. Plus, the current atmosphere is quite tense. Islamist groups have been emboldened by the interim regime, so there is fear of violence tomorrow. Now let's look at the major political players. On one side, you have the BNP, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party. This party is led by Tariq Rahman. He is the son of former President Ziaur Rahman and former Prime Minister Khalida Zia. Tariq Rahman fled Bangladesh back in 2008. He returned in December 2025. He returned after 17 years in exile. And right now, opinion polls give him an edge. Chances are the BNP will emerge as the largest political party, maybe even an outright winner. On the other side is the Jamaat-e-Islami. This is a hardline Islamist political group. They have a notorious and bloody past in Bangladesh. The Jamaat supported Pakistan's genocide in 1971, and they were banned by Sheikh Hasina's government in 2013. But with Hasina gone, the ban was lifted. And the Jamaat is led by a man called Shafiqur Rahman. He has tied up with a newly formed students' party. It's called the NCP, the National Citizen Party. And this was a controversial move because this students' party, the NCP, grew out of the uprising in 2024. The NCP was supposed to fight against the Bangladeshi establishment. It was supposed to protect freedoms and rights. Instead, what did they do? They tied up with an 85-year-old radical Islamist group. So much for a revolution. Still, the NCP could emerge as a key player because young voters will be crucial in this election. 44% of the voters are below 37 years of age. Around 4.5 million voters are voting for the first time. The question is, what do they want? Listen to some of them.
We began with many hopes, but their recent actions have forced us to lower some of those expectations. Still, we believe they are capable of doing good. If their goal truly is to serve the people, then we want them to focus on that mission and set aside their personal ambitions.
In our country, we have plenty of educational institutions, but not enough workplaces. I want the new government to address the challenges in the job market.
My home is in the northeastern district of Kishoreganj, which lies in the basin area. I want the next government to repair the roads there.
The education system in my constituency needs further improvement. We need better support for entrepreneurs, a stronger job market for young people.
I guess that's what unites all of us. It doesn't matter if it's India or Bangladesh or America. Voters everywhere want the same things. We want good infrastructure and more opportunities. They're hoping that an elected government will provide both in Dhaka. But along with hope, there is also fear, mainly for minorities and women. Put together, around 80 candidates are from minority groups like Hindus and Christians. That's 80 out of more than 1,900 candidates contesting in this election. The BNP has fielded 6 minority leaders. The Jamaat has fielded 1, and that too for the first time ever. Normally, the minority or Hindu vote wouldn't matter as much in Bangladesh. But this time, the elections are very close, which is why there is a race to woo the Hindu voters as well. The Jamaat chief joined that race today. He said there will be no second-class citizens in Bangladesh.
In India, there is a concern about minorities in Hindu. What's your message to the...
I have no minority in my country.
Hindu?
No minority. We all are equal.
Whoever wins, the minorities will be fearful because neither party has a good track record on this issue. And when it comes to women voters, the Jamaat is a nightmare. They have not fielded a single woman leader. Imagine that. Out of more than 200 candidates that they fielded, not a single woman. It's a move that has caught the attention of younger voters.
As the Jamaat Emir has repeatedly stated that women's empowerment is not possible and that their party stands firmly against it on ethical grounds, I cannot support them as a working woman.
One of my primary hope was that there would be more women leaders, which is disappointing because I don't see that many women leaders.
Talk about irony. Bangladesh was ruled by 2 women for 3 decades, but now women are on the fringes. Like I said, this election is a battle for Bangladesh's identity. I'm sure Indian officials will also be watching things closely. Our ties have nosedived since Sheikh Hasina's ouster in July 2024. New Delhi is hoping that a new elected government will fix those ties. But again, the track record is not good. Both the BNP and the Jamaat have a hostile past with India. But it seems like New Delhi is betting on the BNP, basically picking the lesser of the 2 evils. Of course, foreign policy comes much later. Bangladesh's first priority is to hold free, fair and impartial elections. We'll be tracking the voting closely tomorrow and also the results on Friday. For decades, the deal was simple. You study hard, you get a degree, you land an entry-level job and you climb up the ranks. That first job you get, the first entry-level job, was the bottom rung of the ladder. But now it turns out that that rung may be disappearing. And tonight we'll discuss why. Are entry-level jobs vanishing slowly? Is AI the villain? Or is a bigger shift happening in the job market? We'll discuss all of that and we'll start with the data. In the United States, entry-level job postings have dropped by 30 to 35%. 30 to 35% drop between 2023 and 2025. Internships are down by 15% in just 2 years. And that's not all. Look at this report. It's by a venture capital fund called Century Capital. It says hiring of fresh graduates fell by 50% in 2024. That's 50% down compared to pre-pandemic levels. In the US, fresh graduates face higher unemployment than the national average. And this is a first in 45 years. This trend is not unique to the United States, of course. In India, too, tech hiring has dropped by 24%, a 24% drop compared to last year, and active openings are at their lowest level in 6 years. Entry-level IT roles have fallen by 18 to 25%. White-collar listings are down by around 20%, especially in roles involving repetitive tasks. And this part is very important. India produces over 1 million engineering graduates every year. Where do they go if the entry-level ramp narrows? And what explains this trend? Why are these vacancies falling? The short answer is 2 words: artificial intelligence, AI. You see, entry-level jobs traditionally involve routine work, like data entry, basic coding, drafting reports, customer service calls, and scheduling or even basic research. AI is doing all of this now. It is faster and cheaper, and it can work 24/7. Of course, companies have noticed this too. So they are investing heavily in automation. Over 60% of executives say that they plan to use AI to handle entry-level tasks. So yes, AI is absorbing the grunt work. But this can lead to a major problem, because entry-level jobs were not just about getting basic tasks done. They were also training grounds. These roles taught you industry language, business instinct, decision-making under pressure, and office politics. You learned all of it. But if companies stop hiring juniors, how will they groom tomorrow's leaders? Because employees still need to develop judgment. It's not something that you can do with prompts. It's something that comes with experience, the experience of doing the grunt work. Plus, dependence on AI has its own challenges. 3 out of 4 Americans say that they have faced negative consequences because AI got it very, very wrong. Look at the numbers again. 28% say that their work was rejected by stakeholders. 27% say that it led to security issues, and 1 in 4 faced customer complaints. Well, here's what happened in October last year. Deloitte wrote a report for Australia's Department of Employment. They used AI to write the report. It contained AI hallucinations. Critics call it work slop. It backfired. Deloitte had to issue a refund. Not too long ago, this kind of work would have been handled by junior consultants, but Deloitte cut those jobs. The number of fresh graduates they hire has gone down by 18%. So the machine stepped in, and we know how it ended. That is not to say that humans don't make mistakes, but AI integration has been a mixed bag so far. That's the point we're making. Companies are cutting costs by hiring less, but in a few years from now, they may struggle to find leaders. So if you are a young graduate, what should you do? How do you find your footing in this job market? And the first thing you must do is build your skills. You must be useful beyond AI. That means learn the AI tools and learn how to judge this AI output. Quality control will be a massive job category going forward. The second thing to do is to build a portfolio, not just a resume. Build a portfolio and network aggressively. And third, develop discernment. That's the ability to decide what is good and what is flawed. The future entry-level job may not be doing the task, it may be supervising the machine that is doing the task. So yes, entry-level jobs may be vanishing, at least in the traditional form, but the work itself is not going anywhere. And to make the most of it, you must adapt faster than technology does. Because in this new career ladder, the first rung won't be given to you, you will have to build it yourself. India is preparing for a major shake-up in its income tax rules. The government has released a new set of draft rules. They are expected to take effect later this year. And what do these rules propose? Well, quite a lot of things. But one big shift involves your PAN card. PAN is your permanent account number. It is used to track your tax and financial transactions. Right now, there are limits on when you must provide the PAN card. Only in certain situations you're expected to, or you're required to provide the PAN card. The government wants to change those limits. This is on things like cash deposits, vehicle purchases, property deals, among other things. The thresholds for all of these could also change. The goal is to make compliance easier for smaller transactions, but keep a closer watch on larger ones. So what exactly are these new draft rules and how will they affect you? Here's a report.
I propose to provide tax holiday till 2047.
India is preparing for one of its biggest tax rule changes in decades.
To customers.
The government has released the draft income tax rules for 2026. They are meant to replace the current rules that date back to 1962. The goal? Simplify compliance, modernize reporting, and make tax tracking reflect today's economy. They are scheduled to take effect from the 1st of April. At the center of the overhaul is the Permanent Account Number, or PAN. It will become more central to your daily transactions, but the thresholds for quoting it are changing, and the shift is dramatic. Let's start with cash transactions. At present, depositing more than 50,000 rupees in one day requires PAN. The draft shifts this to a yearly calculation. PAN will be needed only if total cash deposits or withdrawals cross 10 lakh rupees in a financial year. This reduces checks on small daily transactions. Routine banking gets easier with fewer checks on small daily transactions. But larger cash activity? That will be tracked very closely. Motor vehicles purchases will also see a change. Today, PAN is required for most transactions. The new rule sets a threshold. Only purchases above 5 lakh rupees will need your PAN. High-value motorcycles now fall under this net. Buying property? The PAN requirement is proposed to rise from 10 lakh to 20 lakh rupees. The change reflects rising property values across cities. Hotels and events see a similar increase. You'll need PAN only when payments exceed 1 lakh rupees. The current limit is 50,000 rupees. Insurance, however, gets tighter. PAN may become mandatory when opening an insurance account. Earlier, it was required only if premiums crossed a set annual limit. The draft rules go beyond PAN. They also address employer-provided benefits. These include things like free meals at work. Some of these benefits are taxed today after a certain value. The proposal raises those tax-free limits. This means a larger portion of these perks may not be taxed. The draft also expands the list of metro cities for house rent allowance, or HRA. Currently, only Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, and Chennai qualify as Category 1 metro cities. The new rules add Bengaluru, Pune, Ahmedabad, and Hyderabad to that list. This means employees in these cities can now claim higher HRA exemptions. Crypto exchanges, meanwhile, face expanded reporting requirements. They may need to share transaction data with tax authorities. This is meant to improve traceability of digital assets. The digital rupee is also being formally recognized as a valid payment method. And then there's the cleanup. The number of tax rules and forms is being reduced. The intent? Simpler filing and easier compliance. So what does this mean in daily life? For smaller transactions, paperwork could reduce. For larger transactions, tracking will tighten. The government says the aim is balance. For now, these are still draft rules. Final changes may come after consultations and public feedback. But when implemented, these rules will reshape everyday life in India.
Move over Netflix and cricket matches because the OG primetime entertainer is back. I'm talking about Pakistan's Defence Minister / revealer of secrets, Khwaja Asif. He has dropped yet another bombshell, this time about Pakistan and the United States. Khwaja Asif says Washington used Pakistan like toilet paper. They used them and threw them away.
मैं अभी अपने फोन पे जो है यूनाइटेड नेशंस में तकरीर की हुई है हिलरी क्लिंटन, उसने सब कुछ बयान किया हुआ है, वो इस पे चलाएं इसके ऊपर कि किस तरह पाकिस्तान को उन्होंने इस्तेमाल किया। लैंडमार्क तकरीर है उसकी, और वो किस तरह एक टिश्यू पेपर की तरह, टिश्यू पेपर तो फिर भी टॉयलेट पेपर की तरह हमें छोड़ गई यहां पे। फिर भी हमने उससे ना सीखा।
Do you know what makes it funnier? The slow table thumping in the background. These are Pakistani lawmakers thumping the table. Do you know why? Because their defense minister called Pakistan toilet paper. Though frankly, he's right. Khwaja Asif is talking about Pakistan's policy in the 2000s. They eagerly joined America's war on terror. The US used Pakistan as a staging ground, first to fight the Soviets in the 1980s, then to fight the Taliban in the 2000s. They smuggled weapons to Afghan insurgents. They trained factions of the Afghan resistance. They funneled money to Afghan warlords. Pakistan was the most eager participant in America's war. And yes, they suffered for that. Look at the period from 2005 to 2013. More than 80,000 Pakistanis were killed. Out of this, around 48,000 were innocent civilians. Some were caught in the crossfire, some were killed by reckless US drones. And what did Pakistan get in return? In his first term, Donald Trump cut off military aid to Pakistan. His successor, Joe Biden, refused to meet Pakistani leaders. So Islamabad was indeed left out in the cold. In that sense, you can understand what Khwaja Asif was saying. But here's the thing. Pakistan put themselves in that position. They have no right to complain about what happened. And I'll give you two reasons why. Number one, they played a double game, the Pakistanis. They supported the Taliban regime in Kabul. US intelligence also linked them to Al-Qaeda in the 9/11 attacks. So Islamabad was not some innocent bystander. It was very much supporting these Islamist terrorists. Even during the war, that support continued. The Americans lost money and lives fighting the Taliban in Afghanistan. Meanwhile, Pakistan secretly supported the same group. They have two categories of terrorists, good terrorists and bad terrorists. The good terrorists attack Pakistan's rivals, like India. The bad terrorists are the ones that attack Pakistan. This distinction is the root of their troubles. But America was late to realize that. They got a brutal shock in 2011. That's when they found and killed Osama bin Laden in Pakistan, on Pakistani soil, that too just meters away from a Pakistani military facility. So like I said, Islamabad played a double game. Their fight against terrorism was never genuine. And that brings us to the second reason. Pakistan benefited from their support to America. Since the year 2002, Pakistan has received $33 billion in US aid. That's military plus development assistance, $33 billion. Even today, Pakistan's F-16 jets are upgraded by Washington. For a broke country, that's not a bad bargain. So what is Pakistan complaining about? Khwaja Asif should certainly not be complaining because his government is doing the same thing. In the 2000s, Pakistan was wooing President George Bush. In the 2020s, they're wooing President Donald Trump. Pakistan's government has signed a crypto deal with the US president's family. They have invited US firms to extract Pakistani resources. Meanwhile, the average Pakistani cannot make ends meet. It's a repeat of the same story. The generals play their grand geopolitical games, but the people live in poverty, and the Americans, by the way, are no better. Despite all the betrayals, they keep going back to Pakistan for one more pull of the toilet paper. We just have one reminder for Pakistan and its people. America is a superpower. They survived Vietnam, they survived Iraq, and they survived Afghanistan. I'm sure they will survive another Pakistani betrayal. But can Islamabad afford that? This country is one bad day away from a coup and a bankruptcy. So maybe keep the politics to cricket World Cups and ICC boardrooms. Leave the geopolitical battlefield to stronger countries. You've heard of investing with your head, maybe even with your heart. But how about your conscience, investing with your conscience? This week, the Vatican stepped into a new arena. The church has entered the stock market. It has launched 2 official stock indices, one for the United States and one for Europe. Each index follows a simple rule. They only include companies which align with Catholic moral teachings, like no money pouring into abortion, arms, or pornography. Think of it as a filtered list, a guide for investors who want their money to reflect their religious values. But in a world driven by returns, will the values of the church be enough to pull in investors? Here's a report.
The Vatican Bank has just made an unusual move. It has launched 2 stock market indexes. Bloomberg reports that these indexes select companies based on Catholic principles. One covers the United States, the other covers the Eurozone. Both are designed to guide Catholic investors worldwide. The indexes have formal names. The Morningstar IORUS Catholic Principles Index and the Morningstar IOR Eurozone Catholic Principles Index. IOR stands for the Institute for the Works of Religion. That is the official title of the Vatican Bank. So what exactly is a stock index? It is essentially a list that tracks specific companies. Think of it as a measuring tool. The S&P 500, for example, tracks 500 large American companies. It shows how those companies are performing as a group. The Vatican's indexes work on the same principle, but they apply a values-based filter. Only companies that meet Catholic ethical standards make the cut. What do Catholic standards mean in investing? It means avoiding companies that earn money from things the church sees as clearly wrong, like abortion, pornography, or certain kinds of weapons, and choosing companies that respect people, workers, and the environment. In simple terms, it is a filter. Each of Vatican's index contains 50 companies. These are medium-sized and large-sized firms. Reports say the list includes technology giants. It also includes financial institutions. The top companies in the U.S. index are Meta Platforms and Amazon. For the Eurozone index, the leading names are ASML Holding and Deutsche Telekom. The timing of this launch is significant. Values-based investing is facing headwinds. particularly in the ESG sector. ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance. These funds choose companies based on their environmental practices, social policies, and how they are governed. The Vatican's approach differs from standard ESG investing. It is not centered on climate metrics or governance scores alone. It is rooted in religious doctrine. The selection process follows Catholic teaching. Why is the Vatican doing this? The Vatican Bank carries historical baggage. It handles traditional banking operations for Catholic Church institutions. But its reputation has been damaged. It has spent years trying to distance itself from past scandals. There have been multiple allegations of financial mismanagement. These new indexes represent an attempt to rebuild credibility. They signal that the Vatican wants to be taken seriously in faith-based finance. For Catholic investors, this creates new possibilities. They now have additional options for aligning investments with beliefs. But the real test is how many investors are willing to bet on a fund. That comes with the blessing of the Vatican, instead of Wall Street.
Imagine this. You're scrolling through your phone late at night and a video pops up on your feed. It shows a politician saying something shocking, or a celebrity in a compromising clip, or a voice message that sounds exactly like someone you know. It looks real, it sounds real, but it may not be real at all. Well, that's the world that we live in today, where content created by artificial intelligence is spreading fast. Deep fakes, impersonation clips, and misleading videos are going viral within minutes. And by the time they're taken down, they've already reached millions of people and the damage is done. India is now trying to address this. The government has come up with new digital rules. This is to regulate AI-generated content. These rules are for social media companies. They must act faster and take more responsibility for what is shared on their platforms. The rules come into effect on the 20th of February, and they could reshape how online content is moderated in India. So what are these new rules and what will change for you online? That's what we'll break down tonight. The first change is the deadline. It is now 3 hours. Social media platforms will get just 3 hours to remove unlawful content, 3 hours from the time a court or a government orders a takedown. Earlier, social media companies had up to 36 hours to do this, 36 hours to remove unlawful content. Now that window has been cut to just 3. And for some types of content, the deadline is even shorter. It is just 2 hours. The government says the earlier timelines were too slow. Harmful content could go viral in minutes. And by the time it was removed, the damage was already done. Hence the change. The second change is labeling AI-generated content. It is now compulsory to label content made by artificial intelligence. This includes videos, images, and audio that has been created or altered by artificial intelligence. It must be marked clearly. There should be visible labels, and wherever possible, there should be permanent digital markers so that the content that is synthetic is clearly seen. In fact, users may also have to make a declaration. If you're a user, you must declare if your post is made using AI. And platforms will have to verify this declaration. If they fail to do so, there will be legal consequences. The third change is greater accountability. You see, until now, social media platforms enjoyed what is called a safe harbor. This is a legal protection. It means that a platform is not automatically held responsible for what millions of users post online. If you post something online, the platform is not automatically responsible for that content. This applies as long as the platform follows government orders and takes down illegal content when asked. This is the safe harbor. But the new rules change that. Now this protection comes with stricter restrictions. Platforms must act within the new deadlines, and if they don't, they lose the safe harbor protection. And once that protection is gone, the platform could be held liable legally. This could mean penalties or regulatory action or even legal cases against the company. So the message from the government is clear. Act fast, follow the rules, and be prepared to face the consequences if you don't. And India is not the only one doing this. Across the world, countries are trying to keep up with AI-generated content. Take the United States, for instance. Several states in the US have introduced laws to crack down on non-consensual deepfakes and impersonation using AI. The EU too has come up with new laws. It requires platforms to label synthetic posts online and to remove illegal content quickly. South Korea and China are doing the same. So India is part of a global trend because the risks are real and they're growing fast. Our next story takes us to Colombia, where the country's president says he has escaped an assassination plot. His name is Gustavo Petro. He was scheduled to land on the country's Caribbean coast on Monday night, but his helicopter never touched down. Instead, it flew out over the sea for hours. Petro says his security team warned him of a plot to kill him, so the pilot changed course and stayed in the air. And this claim comes at a critical time. Colombia is weeks away from major elections, and political violence is on the rise across the country. So what exactly happened that night, and how serious are these security concerns? Here's our report.
A routine flight turned into a security emergency. Colombia's president was approaching his destination when warnings came in. His helicopter did not land. Instead, it flew out over open sea for hours. Gustavo Petro now says he was escaping a possible assassination attempt. It happened on Monday night. Petro was traveling to Colombia's Caribbean coast when security teams issued a warning. The helicopter could be targeted if it tried to land. The pilot aborted the approach and diverted away from the area. For several hours, the helicopter stayed airborne before reaching a different location.
I have to confess here, I'm coming in 2 days, not in the arms of love, but running away so they don't kill me. That's why last night I couldn't arrive in 2 hours, because I couldn't land where I'd said we had to land.
Petro has spent months warning about alleged plots against him. He says drug trafficking groups and criminal networks want him dead. He links the threats to his campaign against organized crime.
There's a general I ordered removed from the police. He has a strange mission. Someone gave him the order, obviously not us, to put psychoactive substances in my car.
This is not the first time he has reported such threats. In 2024, Petro claimed another alleged attempt on his life. Since taking office in 2022, he has repeatedly accused criminal groups of targeting him. The backdrop? Rising violence across Colombia. The country is heading towards legislative elections in March. A presidential poll follows in May. Observers say more than 300 municipalities face risks of election-related violence. Armed groups are still active across several parts of Colombia. Many operate in remote regions where state control is weak. Some are dissident factions of the former Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC, once the country's largest guerrilla force. In 2016, the FARC rebel group signed a peace deal with the government, but some fighters rejected it and stayed armed. Now, these groups compete with other criminal networks for territory and control of cocaine routes. Colombia remains the world's largest producer of cocaine, and that trade continues to fuel violence. On the same day as Petro's claim, another incident raised alarm. A senator was abducted in Colombia. She is an indigenous leader and human rights activist. Armed men forced her out of her vehicle and took her away. Search teams later tracked the abductors and brought her to safety.
Several armed men intercepted us, forced us out of the vehicle, and then took us on foot to an unknown location.
This has deepened fears about political security in Colombia. Recent weeks have seen several attacks on candidates and officials. 2 bodyguards of another senator were killed in an ambush last week. Last year, a presidential candidate was shot dead. So the pattern is familiar. Colombia has a long history of political violence. Leftist leaders and candidates have been assassinated in the past. Petro is the country's first leftist president and cannot run again. Authorities are now investigating the alleged plot. Security around the president has been tightened. But with elections approaching, these safety concerns will only be rising.
Every February, the world turns red. Roses sell out, restaurants triple their prices, and couples suddenly become poets. But behind the candlelight dinners and heart-shaped balloons, there's another industry that is booming quietly. Breakups. You heard that right. 14th February may be all about love, but it's also the time of heartbreaks and breakups. Take the Tuesday before Valentine's Day. It has a nickname. It's called the Red Tuesday. Do you know why? Because surveys show a noticeable spike in breakups before Valentine's Day, around 15 to 20% higher than usual. For younger couples, it's even higher. You may wonder why, but I'm sure you'll agree that Valentine's Day is not just a holiday, it's also a relationship audit. Let me show you another survey. About 41% people admit that money plays a role. They don't want to pay for an expensive dinner or buy gifts. Another chunk says they don't want to fake their feelings. But why Tuesday? Why is it a Red Tuesday? Well, many say it's psychology. The weekend is over, reality sets in, bookings need to be made, and it's best to break up before it's too late. So Tuesday it is. In fact, look at one of the top Google searches ahead of Valentine's Day. It is how to get over a breakup. That's what people are searching on Google. But if you're not in the mood to play mature or feeling just a little petty, the Valentine's industry has another option for you. Like naming a roach after your ex. It's big in the United States. Zoos have turned heartbreak into fundraising opportunities. For a small donation, you can name a cockroach after your ex. You pay anywhere between $5 and $70. You choose a roach and you give it a name. The Bronx Zoo pioneered it and soon others followed. It proved to be a super hit, by the way. Over the years, tens of thousands of cockroaches have been named and nearly $1 million have been raised. And these are not your cute cartoon roaches. These are Madagascar hissing cockroaches, 4 inches long, horned, and they hiss. Basically, it is the pettiest love letter ever written. And somehow it funds conservation. So it is saving wildlife one bad breakup at a time. But if this is too dramatic for you, if you think your ex deserves a better animal representation, then there are other options, of course, like naming a rat after your ex and feeding it to an owl, or naming a feral cat after your ex and eventually getting it neutered. Because apparently, petty revenge is cathartic. And they also send you video proof in case you want to hit rewind every time you feel angry. Now, let's say you want a breakup, but you're not the kind who likes such conversations. Well, you can always count on capitalism. It will do the job for you. You don't even have to break up yourself anymore. There are services that will do it for you, like a heartbreak delivery. For $150, professionals will handle the breakup conversation for you. For extra, they will even coach you. They can rewrite your dating profile, even help you move out if you live with your partner. And not just that, there are AI-powered breakup therapy apps. They offer monthly heartbreak subscriptions if commitment is a problem for you. And demand usually spikes before Valentine's Day. And then, of course, there's the glow-up economy, because what do most people do when they're trying to get over a breakup? They want a glow-up. They join the gym. Self-care spending increases. Solo travel bookings go up and spa kits sell out. Every year the world over, total Valentine spending runs into tens of billions, and heartbreak feeds that too. So whether you're buying roses or naming a cockroach, February 14th is doing what it does best. It is making money for everyone. It's making everyone rather spend money. Because love may be in the air, but so is capitalism. If your relationship survives Valentine's week, well, congratulations. You have passed the relationship audit. But if it doesn't, do not worry. There's always a roach waiting to be named. You know that person who shows up to a gully cricket match with a bat, attitude and zero skill? Well, they want to open the batting. They want to bowl the first over and decide the rules. Pakistan is that guy, except they forgot the bat, the ball and basic strategy. First, they wanted to boycott the match against India in Colombo. Why? Solidarity with Bangladesh. Look at Islamabad being the bigger person. And then the reality check hit. Sponsors, tournament rules and actual consequences. So there was a quick U-turn. And the internet responded with memes. Take a look.
हेलो
हाँ मालिक
हाँ
अरे मालिक वो थोड़ा सा गलती हो गई
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Buddhist monks, along with their rescue dog Aloka, arrive in Washington after a 3,700-kilometer long walk for peace. A brawl erupts in the Turkish parliament as opposition protests against the new justice minister. And icebreakers clear ice on a Polish river to prevent dangerous ice jams. Finally, we are taking you back in history on this day in 1979. The Iranian Revolution came to an end. Iran's Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was overthrown. Ayatollah Khomeini, his forces took control of Tehran, marking the birth of the Islamic Republic of Iran. We are leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
rebuilt Egypt's pride after defeat. He turned victory into legitimacy. Then he chose peace with Israel. He broke an Arab consensus. He challenged his own military. He silenced his critics at home. But then, one day, on a national parade ground, in front of cameras, in front of the world, gunmen stepped forward and killed Anwar Sadat. It changed Egypt overnight. The assassination, Saturday at these times, only on Firstpost.